Hello, welcome to ZTalk. Previously, I had a series of sessions about Docker. We went through Docker from Docker basics to more advanced topics like Docker Compose. It's been a little while as I moved to other topics due to the focus shift of my learning path or some feedback from the comment that requested me to do a session for a specific topic. I want to apologize for the delay and jumping around between different topics. In this video, I'd like to close the Docker topic by working on a demo that combines multiple topics we've learned together. I'm gonna create multiple custom Docker images from scratch via Docker Compose for Jenkins, Ansible, and MySQL to show you how does Docker Compose make our life easier by automatically creating the network essential to make 3 different tools work together. All right. Meanwhile, I think it's a good demo to show you how do we run Ansible on Jenkins. If you want to review how to customize Docker image or how does Docker work at all in detail, feel free to review my previous sessions for Docker, and here I attach the link above. Feel free to jump over there to review and then jump back. I think it will be a good practice if you follow this session with me. All right, let's jump to the demo real quick. Again, remember thumb up and subscribe my channel if you think it's helpful one way or another, and leave any comments if you have questions. Okay. All right. Firstly, let me explain what I'm expecting to achieve through this demo real quick. Let's start from left to right. All right. So I'm gonna build multiple containers in a network. One container will be hosting Jenkins and Ansible, and the other container will be hosting MySQL DB. So container 2 will be MySQL server. And I will have the third container acting as the remote host in which I'll be able to communicate with MySQL DB container, which is container 2 here, via MySQL CLI or MySQL client. Then I'm going to have Ansible to insert some data to a table in the MySQL DB here in container 2 via a Jenkins job. All right, that's pretty much what this demo is going to cover. Cool. All right, after understanding the architecture, we're ready to build images for the different components. Let's start building a custom image from scratch for the remote host. So besides MySQL CLI that we're gonna need to use to communicate with MySQL server, I'm also gonna need to install openssh server because Ansible uses SSH to issue commands to hosts, right? That's basically what I did right here in this Dockerfile. As you can see, I'm going to use CentOS as the base image, and on top of CentOS, I'm going to install the 2 components or utilities we're talking about previously that needed to be installed in the this remote host container. The first one is openssh -server. So because it's CentOS, so I'm going to use yum, the package manager, to install openssh server. And then I'm going to create a user ID as here. The username is zztalk and password is also zztalk. All right. And I'm going to create a home directory for this user, which is home/zztalk. And I'm going to create a .ssh folder where we're gonna store the SSH certificates, which we're gonna use to get access to the host. right? And I give the like a change the permission to 700 to this folder. And next step, we're gonna create a SSH certificate from our local and copy that certificate to this host at this location. Authorized keys, and then we're gonna change the ownership of this .sh folder and give these SSH certificate permission as 600, and then we're gonna issue this user sbin sshd-keygen because SSH needs to create a global key, which is done by this command sshd-keygen. You can find more detail if you search for installing openssh-server in Google. And last but not least, we're gonna install the MySQL CLI right here, right? And then we're gonna start sshd as the startup command. Right, that's pretty much it. So what I need to do here, I need to create, as I mentioned here, we're gonna copy these SSH certificates to this image. So I needed to create a SSH certificate from my local, so it's able to copy from my local to the location on the image right here. All right. So let's go there to the command line, and what I am gonna do, I'm gonna issue ssh-keygen, and the file will be called zztalk, right? It's zztalk. All right, and hit enter. I'll hit enter, so it's gonna be empty for the passphrase. And then here we go. A SSH certificate was generated successfully, as you can see here. As is zztalk.pub. This is the private key. This is public key, and this is exactly what I'm copying here. I'm gonna copy this zztalk.public key to this location in the image. All right, that's pretty much the custom image for the remote host. All right, we've done the image for container 3, where we installed MySQL CLI and SSH, right? Let's jump to the container 1, where we're gonna build a custom image for hosting Ansible and Jenkins. All right, cool. Let's back to my Visual Studio Code, and this one's gonna be really straightforward because we're gonna use the existing official Jenkins Docker image from Docker Hub, and on top of that, what we just need to do, we just need to add is Ansible. Here I create a folder called Jenkins-Ansible because besides Jenkins, we're also gonna install Ansible on the same image, right? And inside of this folder, we're going to create a Dockerfile to define how this image is going to be built, and then we're going to also create a couple of files for to instruct Ansible. Basically, it's Ansible configuration file like inventory and playbook. So I will explain those two files shortly. So let's focus back to the Dockerfile that we're going to build here. All right. So because we're using Jenkins official Docker image, so apparently Jenkins is already installed inside of this image. So what we only need to add is just Ansible. That's pretty much what I did here. So if you search, go to web browser and go to Ansible official documentation. Here it shows how to install Ansible on Debian. All right, so just follow these commands right here. Okay, and back to the Visual Studio Code. Here, this is the new syntax, I guess, for this image, because we're gonna use root to install Ansible. So in this image, we need to use this user keyword to change the user from Jenkins to root. And then after we change it to root, we're gonna run the exact same command in the documentation here to install Ansible. And then once the Ansible is installed, we're gonna switch the user back from root to Jenkins for this image. All right, that's done. It's pretty easy, right? And after this one, we're gonna jump to our Docker Compose to create services for these three components. So because for SQL Server, we don't have create a custom image on our own. We're gonna similarly, we're gonna use the existing official MySQL image from Docker Hub. So it's already there. We just need to call that image to build all the services. Let's jump to Docker Compose. All right, here is the Docker Compose.yaml file that I created for the three containers that we needed to build in the architect diagram back here in our slide. As per the diagram, I defined three services for these three containers. The first service was called Ansible, Jenkins _ Ansible. Back to my Visual Studio Code. The first service was called Jenkins _Ansible, which was for the container 1 in our diagram to host Ansible and Jenkins. As you remember, because it's a custom image, I needed to provide the context of this build, which is the Dockerfile I created just now inside these inside these Jenkins-Ansible folder. I just needed to put the path of this directory where the Dockerfile was, was stored as the context. Then here, this is the Jenkins-Ansible is the directory where this Dockerfile was hosted, right? So I just need to define the path of this directory, and then Docker will take care of the rest to locate the Dockerfile that is needed to create this container. And then I exposed port 8080. As you know, this is the default port for Jenkins UI. And to make the configuration inside of Jenkins persistent, I create a volume to point to the Jenkins _home folder on my local, so that the configuration inside Jenkins will not be lost in case this container is crashed or it gets removed or redeployed. All right, and I also create a network called demo, which is actually one of the key benefits we can get out of Docker Compose, as Docker Compose provides DNS service out of box as long as the services are defined in the same network, exactly like what I did here. Each service inside of the same network is able to talk to each other by DNS name without any further configuration. Right? Okay, move to the next service. The next service, I called it remote _ host. Apparently, it's going to be our container 3, host MySQL client CLI and SSH. Right? So I give the container name, name called remote _ host, and the image again is another custom image. So I will call this image, let's say, follow the naming convention, zztalk / remote -host. And again, we need some context to instruct the Docker Compose how to build this image, right? As you remember, this is the Dockerfile that is for the remote host image, right? So we just need to point to this location, and because this is at this Dockerfile is at the same folder of Docker-compose, so I just need to use this dot to tell, okay, just find this Dockerfile in the same location of Docker Compose, right? And same thing, these service will be running in the same network, which is demo. And the last service will be for the MySQL server, and I call this container name as DB. And as you remember, we're gonna use the existing official MySQL Docker image from Docker Hub, right? So I just need to define the name of the image and the version which we're gonna use is 5.7. And back to the browser. Go to the MySQL Docker Hub, the image, and here it shows in detail how we're gonna use this image, like how we're gonna start the MySQL server instance is using this command. So as you can see, it requires the MySQL root password. That's why I create this environmental variable called same MySQL_root password here. Because that is required to start a MySQL instance as per the documentation right here. All right, so just use these environmental keyword. So here you can add the whatever environmental variables as one right here. And again, same thing to make the data consistent inside of these MySQL server. So I create a volume and store the data to my local as db_data, just in case anything happens for these container, the whatever configuration or whatever data inside of this MySQL server will not be lost, right? So it's attached this location to this path var lib MySQL inside of the container. All right, and same thing is running on the same. These service is running on the same network demo. And the last part, I just create the networks, which is demo. All right, that's pretty much it. Let's save it. And we have the docker.compose files, and what we need to do next, we need to build those images, those custom images first. As you can see here, those are the custom image. Those are the custom image. Because if you issue Docker images, there is no image being built yet. So we need to build this image first. Or like this guy, we need to download the image from the Docker Hub. That's what we're gonna do next. All right, cool. Let's jump to the command line and build those custom images first. All right, so before I move to run the Docker Compose command, here is the documentation that I was referring when I was creating that persistent volume for MySQL. And so here, where to store data, and here we go. Take a look. It's in the same page of MySQL Docker, MySQL official image in Docker Hub. All right, just search for volume and take a look this section. All right, cool. Let's jump to my console, and what I need to do, I just need to issue Docker. So where am I? In the folder of Docker Compose. Cool. Then what I need to do, I just need to issue Docker Compose build. All right, let's give it a little time to build all of those images. So basically, that's the the cool things we can get from Docker Compose. It's gonna automatically build whatever custom images we define in the Docker Compose file, YAML file here, or you're gonna build the custom image we created, or you're gonna download those images that we're gonna use from Docker Hub. So you're gonna Docker Compose gonna take care of all those work for us, instead of we're build each of individual images ourselves manually by Docker command. Right? As you can see, the first image has already been built here, and is working on the second custom image. You see is installing MySQL CLI right here for the image for the remote host, right? All right, it's done. Let's issue Docker images. Here we go. That's the two custom image we defined in our service, right? The name of the image, zztalk, Jenkins, Ansible, and zztalk remote host. All right, cool. The image is already there. So the next step, we're gonna create container, that's 3 containers out of these images accordingly. So what we need to do, again, it's a simple. It can be done by a simple command like docker compose up-d. All right, and you can see it's downloading the MySQL image from Docker Hub, and then is creating the images, like the 3 services right here, all done. So we should be good. If we issue Docker PS, we should be able to see 3 containers up and running right here. One is the SQL Server, one is the remote host, and the other is the Jenkins Ansible container. All right, so let's move forward to logging these containers to verify the component or the utilities that we needed is installed correctly or not. So let's start with Ansible. So let's log on to these container Jenkins Ansible. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just issue docker exec-it. The name is Jenkins Ansible, and bash. All right, we're on Jenkins. So if we issue Ansible, here we go. The Ansible CLI was installed successfully right here. Cool. And then let's jump to let me jump to the remote host to see if we're able to SSH to the other containers from the remote host. All right, cool. Let's jump over there. All right, sorry, one more thing to verify before I jump to the other containers. Here I'm still on the Jenkins _Ansible container. So what I want to verify, if I was able to SSH to the remote host container from Jenkins Ansible container. Because back to the Dockerfile for the remote host, I installed openssh-server. So I created the user ID and password. We should be able to use these ID to get access to these container from other hosts like the Jenkins. So let's test it out by SSH. The username is zztalk, and at again we're on the same network, so the DNS work. We can just use the DNS name that we define in the service, which is remote host. hit enter, and the password is also zztalk. So here, right? So zztalk. Cool. I just logged on the remote host container from the Ansible container. From the Jenkins Ansible container. Right? It worked. Okay, so now I'm on the remote host container. Let's verify one more thing, which is the MySQL CLI. We need to make sure we can get access to the MySQL server container, this MySQL instance from these remote host container. Let's issue MySQL -u root, and host will be what is the host? Let me jump to create, open another session. So just issue docker ps, and the host name for the Docker, for the MySQL container or this MySQL server is db. So the host will be db, and the password, hit enter. So let's issue the password we defined here in the Docker compose. The password is also zztalk right here. So let's see if, oh, here we go. I just get access to the MySQL CLI, connected to the MySQL server instance here. So if I issue show databases, here we go. That's the default databases instance created inside of the MySQL server. All right, cool. I think everything worked as expected. So let's go ahead to work on the Ansible part. So we're gonna create Ansible inventory and playbook. Let's jump back to the Visual Studio Code. All right, back to the Docker compose file. Just review the configuration one more time. As you can see in the Jenkins _ Ansible container, I attached the volume, these var Jenkins _ home to this location, Jenkins _ I'm a local, right? To make the data in this folder consistent. So what I can do here, because these volumes are already attached, what I can do, I can create whatever Ansible, my Ansible configuration, like inventory file or playbook inside these locations, so that next time, for same reason, to make the data consistent, right? So if any case the container get redeployed, the data will be still there. So what I will do here, so I will create a folder under my local. Here's my local, right? So I will create a folder under Jenkins _ home directory called Ansible right here, and I will copy the I'm under the Jenkins _ home directory, and I created a folder called Ansible. And inside of this Ansible folder, I'm gonna store the inventory file and my playbook inside of this directory, so that it will be whatever I create here, it will be automatically created over the container that I've used. Right? So give you example. So I create a inventory file, and I copy the private key that I generate here to this folder, enter this Ansible folder. This was the private key here I generated from my local, right? So what I need to do, I just need to copy that zztalk private key, enter this folder. So the file, this private key will be on the container. So let's verify that by going to the container. So here I'm on the Jenkins container, and let me go to the var Jenkins home. Right, that's the location, the volume, I attach the volume to var/Jenkins home. So here, if I do ls, and as you can see, there was a Ansible directory being created. And let's go inside the Ansible. We can see there was 2 files that I created from a local, right? One is the zztalk, the private key, and the other is the inventory. Let's take a look at the inventory here. So I'm gonna use the SSH certificate that I created to get access to the remote host container. So manually, if I test it manually, what I can do is ssh zztalk at remote host _host, and I'm gonna use this private key to access, so that we don't need to put in password anymore, right? So hit enter. Here we go. We're on the we're on the remote host container, right? So that's the same. Let me go back to the Jenkins container and go back to the inventory file. So here in the inventory, I just create an alias called remote host, and the host is remote host, right? And the Ansible user to get access to that remote host container will be zztalk that we created over there. So remember back to the here in the Docker. So I created a user ID to get access, right? And also I copied the public certificate that I generated from a local to these remote host container inside of this home zztalk .sh directory. I put the public key over there. That's why it works here with this private key, right? So I just need to define the Ansible user to get access to the remote host container. The user will be zztalk, and the connection is SSH, and the private key location is here var Jenkins _home and Ansible and zztalk. That's it. So we can test it real quick by issuing Ansible. We're gonna using a ping module to test the connection between these 2 containers. So remote host -i, the inventory, and the module I'm using is a ping. All right, as you can see, the ping was successful. It means this inventory or this configuration worked. Then let's jump to the playbook. But before we move to playbook, I need to log on to the remote host and get access to the SQL Server through the MySQL CLI to explain a little bit what we're gonna do over there, because we're gonna create. Our goal is to create a Ansible job or create using Ansible to insert some data to a table inside of that database, right? So we need to create a table, or we need to create a database instance first, and then create a table to get those preparations done before we can come back to continue work on Ansible piece and also the Jenkins piece, right? Okay, so let's jump over there. All right, I'm on the remote host container. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna get access to the MySQL server via MySQL CLI that was installed on these remote hosts, right? And I'm gonna walk you through how do we create table, create a database instance first, and then create a table inside that database instance and insert data to that table. Because like I mentioned, the goal of these demo is to use Ansible to insert data to a MySQL database, to MySQL data, and then we're gonna automate that process via Jenkins job, right? So I'm gonna walk you through how do we do that manually, and then we can figure out how do we use Ansible to fulfill that task. Make sense? All right, cool. So let me jump to the get access to the MySQL database. So here, just issue MySQL, user will be root, and host will be DB. Here, host will be DB. That's the container that hosts the MySQL server, right? And then the password. Hit enter. The password will be zztalk. Okay, so I'm on the MySQL CLI. So let's issue show date bases, and we can see here are the database instance that came out of box once we installed MySQL on the container, right? And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new database instance. Just issue create database, and I'm gonna call this instance employee. All right, and show database again, and you can see a new instance was created successfully. It's called employee. So let's go into this instance by issuing use employee. Here we go. As you can see, database changed, and we're inside database employee, right? So let's create a table inside of these database instance. So I just issue create table. I will call it register. And inside of these table, you're gonna have 4 attribute to store ID, first name, last name of the employee, and the age of the employee, right? Pretty simple. So here I will define the schema. So it will first column will be ID. So I will call it ID, and it's an int. And the next one will be first name. It's a varchar, and I will give the length of 15 characters as max. And last name varchar. Sorry, there was a typo here. And also 15. And the last attribute will be age, and it will be int 2. All right, hit enter and show tables. As you can see, a new table called register was created successfully. And if we check the schema, we can do describe register. Describe what's that command again? So it should be describe typo register. Okay, as you can see, this is the schema of this table, right? So the next step, we can do some insert. We're gonna insert some user data to the table. So we're gonna do insert and into register. Values will be, the first one will be counter, the ID. So ID will be, for example, 1, and the first name will be first name will be Bob. Last name will be Bob again, Bobby, and the age, let's say 50. Hit enter. All right. So if we do a select star from register, and we can see the data was inserted successfully, right? That's exactly what we're gonna do via Ansible. So back to my Visual Studio Code, I just grabbed some. Sorry, let me come to the back to the Visual Studio Code, and as you can see here, I just grabbed some name randomly from a website. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna insert each of these name to that table that we just created. All right. Let's figure out how do we do it by Ansible. All right. Whatever I have done manually just now it can be actually automated via a shell script. Here I'm going to show you how it can be done. Here I just copy the names.csv file to this Ansible directory under the Jenkins _home, so we can get this CSV file once we get access to that container, right? So let's jump to the container. Here you go. I'm on the Jenkins Ansible container, and under this directory var Jenkins _home Ansible, and you can see the names.csv file is out there. So firstly, let's count how many users that I randomly created in this file. So let's do a count names. All right, 24. So what we can do, we can create a shell script to do a loop to loop every single usernames inside of this file and do field extraction and to put the field to extract the field that we want and assign that field to the database, right? So that's what we're gonna do. Let me walk you through my shell script right here. It's pretty simple. So firstly, I create a variable called counter, and this counter basically is for looping the items inside of the CSV file. And as you can see, we have 24. So the conditions is if the counter less than 25, then you're gonna follow. You're gonna do these statements. Basically, these statements are for field extraction. Once the field is extracted to the specific variables that are created, like first name, last name, and age, and then I'm gonna insert to the table that I just created in the database, right here. Okay, so here the name, the nl command is a Linux utility is used for numbering lines. So let me show you an example. So nl names as you can see here, it numbering the lines, something like this. All right. And next step, so we're gonna grab line one based on this counter value, right? So here is gonna grab line 1, so it's showing the first employee, which is Angela Lians, right? And then we need to do some field extraction. So because I don't need these, I need to extract the first name and last name. So I'm gonna use the awk utility to do this work. So I would do like awk the second field, print the second field, right? Because the first field will be this counter, this one, right? The second field will be this section, right? Cool. Hit enter. Here we go. We got the second field, and it's not done yet. We need to further extract these string to break it off to and store to two variables. The first one is going to be first name. The last one going to be last name, right? That's why I did another awk dash hyphen f. It's gonna be delimited by comma here, and then I'm gonna print the first field as the first name. See, Angela. And same thing. I'm gonna print the second field as the last name. That's why I'm showing here. Here. Right, and I'll explain why we have to use this trim command to remove those /r/n shortly. You will see why I'm adding these command right here. Here move to the line 7, the age. So I'm gonna use this chef command. It's a utility, a Linux utility to generate a random number. So basically, as you can see here, I want to generate a random number between 20 and 50. So I'll show you. So chef -i 50 and -n 1, right? As you can see, it randomly generate numbers between these range as I defined, and because for each of the user, I only need one number to assign as their age, so I don't need all of those. That's why I put a argument -n equals 1, and it only returns one value, one number, and these number are going to be assigned as that user's name. User's age. All right, and that's pretty much it. So once we got those values stored to the three variables, and then we're gonna issue the same command to insert to that regist table we created accordingly, like this. It's pretty much it. And one more thing, let me explain why do I have to use this trim command. So let me show you. I need to do a little bit modification inside of these. I need to comment this command out temporarily, and I will do a echo command. I can echo first name, last name, and age. So let me remove this command, trim command. So you can easily figure out the difference here. And all right, let's save it and back to my container. And as you can see, the add script is already been updated, right? So let's issue this command and this shell script. Run this shell script to see what we got. Oh, sorry, we have to give it the chmod 744 add name, and then let's issue add name. You see here, the format is totally messed up. It's because these hidden it's totally messed up, the field extraction. That's because those hidden characters. That's why I need to add this trim command to remove those hidden /n and /r characters, right? So same thing, I will revert it back to what it was. -c, same thing for this guy. And same thing for this guy. And let me copy that again, and same thing, let me issue that again. Oh, sorry. One more pipe. All right, let me issue that, cleared it out. So let me issue that again. As you can see now, the extraction worked as what worked as expected, right? It's because those hidden /r or /n character has been removed by these trim commands, right? That's pretty much my script. And then once we issue these commands, let me remove the echo command and revert back to what it was, and we're ready to go. So once we run these shell scripts, it will be able to insert those names to the register table that we created just now. All right, here I create a Ansible playbook to run our script, right? It's pretty simple. These playbook contains 3 tasks. Firstly, you're gonna transfer the CSV file and the shell script that we created and tested just now to the remote host, right? And change the mode, and as you can see is transfer these names.csv and add name.sh, the shell script, to this location in the remote host container, and then it just gonna execute the shell script over there in the remote host container. All right, so let's test it out. Come here, what I'm gonna do, I just run this Ansible book by Ansible-playbook and include our inventory by -i inventory and the playbook that we created right here. Hit enter. All right. Looks it was successful. So let's jump to the remote host container and get access to the MySQL database via the CLI. And here we are. I'm in the employee instance, and let's issue a select from register. Here we go. And as you can see, the Ansible took care the work, and all those the IDs, names, and age were inserted to this table as expected. Cool. Now we can, everything is ready. We can jump to the Jenkins and integrate Jenkins with Ansible with the Ansible plugin. Then we can create a Jenkins job and execute these Ansible playbook from Jenkins. We're almost there, so let's go. All right. So as you remember in the Docker compose.yaml file, I did a port mapping for the Jenkins Ansible container to map the port 8080 to my local host so that I should be able to get access the Jenkins UI from my local browser via port 8080. That's exactly what I did right here. Localhost 8080, and I got access to Jenkins UI, right? So as I mentioned, the integration between Ansible and Jenkins is done via a plugin. So let's install that plugin. So click Manage Jenkins, Manage Plugins, and available, search for Ansible. Here we go. We need to install these plugin. Click install without restart. And let's waiting. Okay, all is done. So let's restart Jenkins. All right, the restart is done successfully. So let's start building a job. Click new items, and I'll give it a name of this job called Ansible insert db. All right, and it's going to be a freestyle project. Click OK. All right, so if you click build, you should be able to see this option like invoke Ansible playbook or invoke Ansible ad command. Let's click invoke Ansible playbook. Also, this is a way to verify if that Ansible plugin was installed successfully or not, right? So click Ansible playbook, and here you just need to put the location of the playbook and inventory here. That will be it. So here, let's do pwd and copy this location. The name of the playbook will be playbook.yaml. And also same thing for inventory. Inventory is at the same location. And remove the playbook to call it inventory. All right. Inventory. That's pretty much it. So save it. And back to the container. Let's delete all those these entries so that we can verify, right? So I do delete from registry and do a slash again, and it's empty table, right? Let's issue that build now. All right, and let's see. This one, click console output. It's already done. So let's go jump back to the container to verify. Here we go. As you can see, it was installed. Sorry, I clicked it twice. That's why you see two views right here. So that's why the data was inserted twice. But anyway, I proved my point. These Jenkins job worked as expected, right? Cool. That's pretty much it. Okay, one more thing. By the way, I want to introduce another plugin because as you can see here, the console output is not. It's just black and white, right? As you remember, if we run the Ansible command from the console here, we got that colorful. Let me see, like something like this. If we got some error or if everything worked just fine, the color will be different. Actually, there is a plugin on the Jenkins site to get or output console output colorful. Exactly same thing like here. Let me show you how to install that. All right, let's jump back to the main page and go to Manage Jenkins. The plugin you're gonna need is called NC color. This guy, as you can see, is add NC coloring to the console output. So for saving some time, I already installed and recycled the Jenkins server. So you just need to download, install this NC color plugin and recycle on your end to make it work. Once this plugin is installed, then let's go back to the dashboard and configure our existing job project here. So let's click configure, and what we need to modify is in the build environment. You see there is an option, check this option, color NC console output, and in the build section, click advanced, and here check colorize then output. That's pretty much it. Save it and run that again. Let's see how it goes. Build now. All right, let's take a look the console output. Here we go. See, we got color. Cool. This time I only click once, so let's verify. By the way, before I kick off this job, I already delete the table. So if I check the table one more time, here we go. We got all we wanted. Cool. All right, this is pretty much what I want to share in this session. I think you should be, it should be a good practice for you to combine all of different topic or knowledges we learn together, like Ansible, Docker, how to create our custom Docker images, and Docker Compose, all of that. So try to use your own use case to play with it. So it should be great. All right. Let's call it a day. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you for watching my video. If you think this video is helpful, you're more than welcome to leave any comments. Remember, thumb up, subscribe my video, and also hit the notification bell. See you next time.